Hello, everybody. Welcome to this recorded edition. I hope everybody's having a good Labor Day. It is September 1st, Labor Day 2025, and it is 11:29 a.m. Central Time. I'm recording this program that's going to be aired tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern at the normal time. I've got to prepare for the rest of the NFL picks and whatnot, each division, which I'm going to work on the rest of today. May do a little bit of over a little bit later, and try to get another show recorded today for tomorrow's programs. I won't have a live show, but it will be new content, folks. Great weekend into college football. Then me personally, I was 1-4. Only game I had right was Notre Dame, Miami. Missed on Texas. I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. Missed on Texas, Ohio State. I picked Texas. I missed on Florida State, Alabama. I picked Alabama. I missed on Clemson and LSU. I picked Clemson, the home team, and we'll see what happens tonight. But I saw the commonality. I saw it. We talked about it. The transfer portal talent, folks, winning out in week one college football so far, especially the big games. LSU was number one in transfer portal rankings, according to 24/7 plus NIL spent $20.5 million. Won a big, and looks like they fixed their defense. Won a big road game there at Clemson. Defense stayed tough, even though they got down. Offense did not blink. Remember, they were down for a while by a touchdown. I thought maybe that pick was going to pan out. And, of course, it did not pan out. Big win there for LSU. Beat Clemson. Texas Tech. These are the top 8, by the way. Everybody, the top 8. Let me read this so we don't get too far ahead. This is 24/7 transfer portal rankings. Teams that had the best transfer, which means there's NIL money involved in there for this particular off season. Number 1, LSU. Number 2, Texas Tech. Now, they didn't have a big game. I think they beat like Arkansas, Plum Buff. But they won, okay? Number 3, Miami. Miami, that was the one I called. They were 3 in transfer portal transfer rankings. Number 3, we saw it play out. Carson Beck looked good. Outplayed Notre Dame quarterback there. Younger quarterback did not quite have the experience there. Ole Miss, they won. They didn't have a big game, but they still won. That's number 4. Oregon won easily. Number 5, Florida State, that was a big opponent. They were underdogs, 13.5-point underdogs. They win. That was a big win there for Mike Norvell. Brought in new coaching staff and everything. Gus Malzahn I didn't catch that. Former Auburn coach is now the offensive coordinator. Really schemed up Alabama's defense pretty well. Of course, Missouri, number 7, they won. And, of course, Auburn beat Baylor. To everybody won that had the top 8 in transfer reporting rankings. Technically, Kentucky won. They were number 10. They beat was it Toledo or whatnot also. But here, check this out. Number nine, folks, in transfer portal rankings, according to 24/7 Sports, is North Carolina. They're 3.5-point home dogs. Bill Belichick coach team. Let's see how that plays out against TCU in the national championship game, 2 or 3 years ago. I think Carolina's going to win tonight, folks. They're 3.5-point underdogs. Let's see how that plays out. But so far, perfect. Teams that had the best transfer portal won out. This is the league we're in. NIL transfer portal don't always work out, but this particular week of this particular season, they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect there, and that's not something to just shake. I mean, that's a pattern right there. That's something. That's an observation there, folks. Okay, now let's talk about the biggest game here. Okay, let's talk about the biggest game. I said it would be low scoring. I said it would probably be like 24-19, something like that. I did pick Texas. I thought that the little bit extra experience that Arch Manning had, not much over saying what would propel them to a win. I thought it would be about like this, maybe a little bit more scoring, but of course that didn't work out. The home team won. Arch Manning come up short, looked very mediocre. Could not live up to that hype the media is putting on them. All that thoroughbred blood and bloodline and whatnot. You got two uncles in it, likely NFL Hall of Fame. We know Peyton's already. I think Eli will probably get in eventually. And of course, granddad played in the NFL, Archie Manning. But all that talk, and I never subscribe to that. For those of you that watch this program, I never subscribed to him coming out in the NFL. I don't care how good a year he had this year. He is not 8 months away from playing in the NFL. And I know a team will draft him because of that name. I know Cleveland will probably draft him because of that name. But this guy is simply not ready. You saw the stat line. If you didn't, I'm about to bring it to you right now in case you were busy over the weekend. People got things to do. I get it. Even on a Labor Day weekend. We're all work for a living. 17 for 30, 170 yards, one touchdown, one pick, QBR rating of 58. He did run for 38 yards. He got a little bit more comfortable in the second half. It seemed to be too late at that point. But either way, I thought they played him a little too conservative early. I would have moved him, I would have thrown him to the Wolves more early and let him just work through it. Sark wanted to run the ball more. I mean, they had 27 runs, 27 rushing attempts, and then you add the 10 by Arch Manning. A lot of that was he was just running for his life. That there was nobody open. He just started running. He was just not comfortable early on that game. It happened. But that being said, this guy was not ready. I said he would not be ready for the NFL draft. Okay. You look at his stat line. I know it's just one game, but you look at guys that are, this is early, but that are successful in the NFL. We did not think had a snowman's chance of even playing in the NFL. Bo Nix, folks. Bo Nix transferred from Auburn to Oregon. He looked like a guy that it'd be lucky to be a seventh round pick, if that. More like what Quinn Ewers went, but he worked his way through it. This guy had 45, 50 something starts in college. Had a great rookie year. He ends up going in the first round, finds the right system. He's an example. He's an example of a guy who played a lot, and it worked out for him, and he really wasn't that talented. Not to mention, people talk about Joe Burrow. He transferred, right? Well, he played 2 full years, Joe Burrow did. Played 2 full years at LSU. He was working out the kinks there at LSU. But he goes on later and plays really well, okay? So my point is you need that experience, okay? And I don't think it's the end of the world. I want to say somebody put a stat out here to give you an observation. This was BetMGM. Listen, it's just his first real career start as the full-time starter. I know he's had 4 or 5 starts. I think he had one real meaningful game like Mississippi State or somebody. But Joe Burrow, just mentioned, 100. This is his first start at LSU, 140 yards, no touchdowns. Kyler Murray, first start at Oklahoma, 149, 1 touchdown. Lamar Jackson, pretty successful 2-time MVP. First start at Louisville, 168 yards, 1 touchdown. You got to get that timing down get out there and compete, get the timing down, get into the trenches. He looked good towards the end of the game. I think he's going to build on that, but he's still, even if he plays the rest of the season and picks up tremendously fast, that guy needs to come back. And uncles are going to tell him that and advise dad to advise him, come back, get those starts, get different looks from defenses. You're going to need them because when it comes in NFL, the patience is a lot thinner. Narratives come up very quickly. There's more eyes on the NFL. It's just not going to work out. Take your time, develop. Let's not serve this half-baked meat there. Let them get all the way baked into the college system. I noted down a few examples here of players who did just come out after 1 year, have one really good year of starting in college ball. For one, Mitch Trubisky, folks, 2017, one good year. Not a lot of tape on him at North Carolina. He was the second pick overall, drafted ahead of a 2.5-year starter there, Patrick Mahomes. We know how that worked out. Trubisky was the number 2 overall pick to Chicago Bears. He's not even starting in the league right now. The other one is Anthony Richardson. 1 full year, folks. I want to say 15, 16 starts there at Florida. The number 4 pick overall with the Colts just 2 years ago. He's already been benched for Daniel Jones. We're looking for him to get traded. He hasn't been traded yet, but he's already lost his starting job. You got to let these players bake. You got to let this certain thing develop. This guy needs to play this season out, and then he needs to come back next year. There's going to be college adjustments from coordinators in the college game to his game, just like it is going to be in the NFL. Let him stay there, learn some more, start there, see some more looks, some more defenses, go through the ringer one more time, and then 2027, like I said the whole time, then he'll be ready. And I hope he does the right thing and makes that happen. Okay? All righty then. Now, tonight, I think Bill Belichick, going back to the transfer portal rankings, everybody, the top 10, 9 of the top 10 have won. The other one has not played, and that is North Carolina. So, transfer portal, NIL, that thing is real. It is what it is. I like it. It's just hard to get a feel for it. I figured the returning starters development of your Clemson's. Clemson still got a chance. Everybody still got a chance. Just 1 week. That being said, it is something duly noted. So will it be a perfect 10 out of 10? We'll find out tonight. North Carolina against TCU. I couldn't really call a score. I don't know. 24-20, something like that. Looks like both quarterbacks like to run the ball a lot. But we'll see. We shall see. Almost 70 players there Bill Belichick has. It's going to be an interesting game. I will be watching the game and not doing this show. Okay, now let's move on to my NFL picks. I had the AFC West. I did that on Thursday. Let's do the AFC East. No particular order. I'm just doing it in the direction of this magazine I have, which is the Athlon Sports. I normally use the Lindy's magazine. I could not find it this time, this time in the bookstore. So I got this Athlon Sports here, which not too bad. Not too bad. It just shaped up a little bit different, but it starts off with the Buffalo Bills here. And listen, the Bills, they gave up 32 points in that last game against Kansas City. They always seem to have problems with the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, okay? And 32 is 32 too many. They went for the first, let me make sure and get back to my notes here, because I have a tendency to go off my notes a little too much here, but I'm pretty sure I've got it all pegged. First 5 picks, yeah, I was right, in the NFL draft, all defensive players. Went with the cornerback early. Also added in Joey Bosa. Now, I know Bosa, former LA Charger there, high pick, played 6 games last year, injury problem. They just need him back around the last 2, 3 games, 4 games in the regular season there. Help him out, for him to help out with that pass rush per se, and put him out there next to Ross Sanu and Ed Oliver there. Uh, let that defensive line cook there a little bit. With those first 5 picks, they picked up a cornerback. They've also picked up other linemen, edge rushers, and whatnot. They want to add to that defense there. Uh, I know a lot of the local Buffalo radio people, one of them got mad at the Bills about not drafting a receiver in Brazil. I don't think so. I think they're going to be fine at skill position. I think that their rookie wide receiver there, let me make sure and get this guy's name so I don't just sit here and Keon Coleman, second-year wide receiver out of Florida State. I think he's going to make a big jump this year. And, of course, Khalif Shakur there. The slot, I was Tupac, I always call it Shakur. The slot receiver there, got him an extension. Keon Coleman, I expect big things out of this guy. I liked what he did towards the end of the season last year. I think players make that big jump year 1 and year 2. Not to mention James Cook at running back. Big jump there for him. Got the extension. Ray Davis, second-year player out of Kentucky, running back. They're going to have a good 1-2 there at running back there. And, of course, their tight end tandem there. Their tight end tandem there with they got this guy, Zach Davis. And trying to see if I can find his name there. Looks like they do not have, looking at my starters here, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox there at the tight end position. I think they're going to be fine. It was really the defense. You got a reigning MVP there, Josh Allen. I want to say he got married or something over the off season. I expect them to play really well. I expect them to go 13-4. 13-4 this year. That's not saying a lot. They have an easier schedule than they had last year. Let's look at their schedule real quick. It seems like I always get ahead of myself and don't mention their key games. They open up against Buffalo or against Baltimore, and Lamar Jackson's got a foot injury he's been dealing with since camp there. So they're playing the AFC North. They also play Kansas City at home. Got Kansas City a good spot there November 2nd. They beat them at home last year. They just got to do it in the playoffs. And they got Philadelphia on December 28th, potential team that they can potentially meet in the Super Bowl if they get there. So pretty decent schedule there. Again, 13-4. Expect big things there from them. Okay, turning the page, previewing the AFC East. Mike McDaniel team is not very let's going down north to down south here. Big difference, Buffalo to Miami. But Mike McDaniel, I think, is a coach on the hot seat. I mentioned this to the man New Yorker. He seemed like he was pretty shocked there. 3-13 against teams above 500 in the Mike McDaniel era. Tyreek Hill then hints that he may get traded. He didn't get traded by the trade deadline in November. I expect him to be traded at some point. Just not a very physical team. They beat up on the bad teams. And again, 13-3 against teams over 500. Maybe Tennessee beat them last year. So don't really expect a lot. I think McDaniel's probably just offensive coordinator material at this point in his career. Maybe he'll get another shot because he said this is an offensively driven league. We shall see how that plays out. But either way, this team, I see them ending up at 5-12, and there'll be talks of him getting fired. I think he'll probably get canned, and I think they'll probably move on from Tyreek Hill. That's my early prediction, and perhaps move on from Tua, even though I know he's under contract and whatnot, and sign that extension. they may very well be in the quarterback market. There's going to be quite a few, even though Arch is probably not going to come out. Um, they very well may be in the quarterback market as well. If not this year in 2027, when you got Lagway from Florida and Arch Manning, who I expect to be coming out this year. So we'll see how that plays out. That's getting a little bit far ahead of ourselves again. So far, 13-4 Buffalo and Miami 5-12, and be picking likely in the top 10 in the NFL draft here. Okay. New England, a lot of talk about New England. Not sure if they're going to get to the playoffs. I thought they were going to be a sleeper coming in. I like the fact that they brought in Mike Vrabel there as the head coach there, and Josh McDaniels, another guy that had 2 tries here. Got 2 tries for Josh McDaniels. Both failed miserably as a head coach. He just don't got the communication skills as a head coach in the league. Not a bad offensive coordinator. I think he'll be a pretty good offensive coordinator working with Drake May. I see good things out of this team this year. Massive improvement here. An overhaul of amount spent on the defensive line and free agency, plus 4 new starters on the offensive line. And listen, everything I hear and read about Will Campbell, the left tackle, 4th overall pick out of LSU, nothing but rave reviews. And, of course, Trayvon Henderson, I want to say the 2nd-round pick out of Ohio State. Man, he hit the ground running in the preseason, first carry, a run back or a carry for a touchdown. Josh McDaniels, not a guy, going back to McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, not a guy to hand out a bunch of compliments of saying that that's the fastest running back he's ever coached there. So he's been around for quite a while. Talking about Trayvon Henderson there. He's going to be working with Drake May and this revamped offensive line. Mike Vrabel going to bring his swagger. To this team. And Vrabel winning record there as a head coach. Listen, I didn't want Vrabel to leave Nashville, but I just still want him picking the players. Now, he's not picking the players up in New England. I can tell he went offensive line. I'm sure he wanted to go defense early with that 4th pick because Mason Graham was out there. But they spent some money there on the defensive line in free agency. I want to say they got a player out of Philadelphia, one of their players, and put them on the defensive line, paid them a big bunch of free agent money. That being said, defensive guys love to stack the defense, go cheap on offense. But that's not the case. He's not picking the players. He's playing his role, which is being the head coach. He's a very good head coach. He's going to bring this swagger up to this team. They're going to play well in spots. Plus, they're in the NFC, the AFC East. Not a lot of world beaters when you're playing against the Jets and you're playing against the Miami Dolphins, who are this ultra soft, and 3-10, 3-13. What did I just say earlier? Against teams above 500 in the Mike McDaniel era, he's going to change the culture real quick here. All right. So I'm looking at this team again. I think they get off to a pretty good start and win this weekend. I think they will win. I thought I had his record circled here, Mike Vrabel's record here. Yeah, 54-45. Mike Vrabel as a head coach here. So the Patriots are going to have a big jump back. They're not going to be picking 4th in the draft. I got them beating the Raiders in the opening week. They've got to play Pittsburgh later on. I do think they'll lose to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's going to get off the hot start. I'll talk about Pittsburgh a little bit later. But they also play, at Cincinnati, at Baltimore. Not good matchups for them. But they have that late bye, December 7th. Maybe they go on a run there and get an upset or two. But either way, I've got the Patriots going 10-7, folks. I've got them going 10-7. They're going to be knocking on one of those wild card doors there. All right. As you can see, I had a very good record there for the Denver Broncos and, of course, the LA Chargers. So it's going to be but they're going to be in that wild card mix. That's all you can really ask for if you're a Patriot fan. If you're like a Tennessee Titans fan who picked number one, a Giants fan, any of those top five picks, especially if you're starting over with young quarterbacks, you want to be right on that playoff door or inside that playoff door. Okay, you don't want to be 5-12 again or 4-13 again with your quarterback coming into. If he's got a decent line coming in year one, year two, like a Tennessee or a New England or whatnot. So I got them going 10-7. We'll have to see how that. Now, could they go 11-6? Yeah. Or could they go 9-8? Either way, I think the Patriot fans at this point would be satisfied with that because that tells you that the roster is getting better. That tells you that Drake May's the guy. I think he's going to be the guy from what I've seen. But we're going to find out this year. They're going to lean on that running game. Will Campbell left tackle. That's a huge getting that left tackle right. It looks like they've got it right already from what I see out of the camp reports there. But a big turnover there for them in personnel. But let's see how it all gels together. I think that's an optimistic prediction at 10-7. Okay. All right. Staying with the AFC East. All right, the New York Jets, not so optimistic on the Jets. We saw what little bit that we did see. Justin Fields. I tell you what I will say positive about this Jets team. They brought in Aaron Glenn, former defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. I want to say he's a cornerback under Bill Parcells and whatnot. Back in the day, he did improve as a defensive coordinator with the Lions as the season went along. I've been a little too down on him since that, but he has improved. I wasn't in love with him early, just like Jonathan Gannon going out for the Arizona Cardinals. Wasn't in love with the way he coached the defense all year at times with the Philadelphia Eagles, especially in the Super Bowl when they couldn't get a stop in the second half. This guy gets the Arizona Cardinals job. But at that point, the reputation of the owner, very bad, getting around circles. They're not attracting big names out west there in Arizona. So Gannon, kind of a process of elimination type of thing, ends up taking that job. And it wasn't too bad last year. They looked pretty organized. Will they win 8 games? Some are picking them to win, to maybe be a playoff sleeper this year with Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon. I kind of say that's kind of in the realm that I put Aaron Glenn, maybe put Aaron Glenn a little bit higher than Gannon. That being said, some positives about the Jets. Did look like a good run blocking team. Looked like a fair to reasonably good offensive line in the preseason. Right tackle, left tackle situated, center situated there. Let's see how it plays out. But just what the little bit we have on Justin Fields and the backup quarterback, that does not look good. He looks like the Justin Fields that we know from the Bears, a very indecisive guy who just cannot make reads on a consistent basis when you have to throw. And that him being an offensive or defensive-minded head coach there, Aaron Glenn, I don't see it getting any better. I definitely think that the Jets are almost for certain with the Saints and the Colts per se. Those 3 teams, I'm almost for certain that they're going to be in the quarterback market come April, okay, 8 months from now. All right. So all that being said, yeah, it's a fair defense. They got good up front. Quentin Williams, they got Sauce Gardner, signed a big contract on the back end. They're good where they need to be good. Okay. Can they I just think they're a quarterback away. Justin Fields is what I thought it was. It's just not going to work out. They open up against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has a really good team to start this season off. People would say what they want about Aaron Rodgers, but they're going to be good early. They're not going to be great early, but they're going to be solid early. And I'll go over that when I go over the AFC North. Okay, so they're going to lose early, and I'm not so sure when they're going to actually win one of these games. You know, they might not get their first win till like week 5 against Dallas at home. So, I mean, they could potentially beat at Miami, but they got Pittsburgh, Buffalo, at Tampa with all their players and uploads. Um, at Miami and then Dallas. That's the first 5 games. Then they got to go play Denver in London. So, I mean, of course, you got your division opponents and whatnot. So, anyways, I've got them going 4-13. Okay. They're going to be right there in the mix. They're going to finish fourth in this division. Just to recap the AFC East, folks. The Buffalo Bills 13-4. They're going to win the division. No big hot take there. The Pats will be at 10-7. They're going to finish second. But Miami at 5-12, a little bit better quarterback situation. And then, of course, 4-13 for the Jets. These are just educated guesses. Maybe they squeeze 6 wins out there and whatnot. Maybe Buffalo gets a little complacent and don't quite win 13. It's just an educated guess, folks. The way I pick these games, I typically pick, like, if you got a team that's playing at home on a Thursday night, the statistics leaning on that team, especially if it's a push at the quarterback issue, they're probably going to win that game. Okay, if you've got a team playing another team off of a road trip, like a Monday night game, for example, like a Raiders that played on Monday night and then they got to go east the next week, I'm probably going to pick the team that's at home after that. One of those deals. But sometimes those teams are tough. They come up and they win anyways, like the 49ers. And they do it all the time. They might get off, or even the Rams, might get off to a rough start, but later on, they'd come back and end up winning later on in that game. So, anyways, that's my standings. And it doesn't really feel like, Buffalo, New England, Miami, and then the Jets finishing in 4th place. That's the AFC East. Okay, let's go to the AFC North. So after this, I want to have just about the AFC. I'll still do the AFC South. I'll probably do that later on today. Record it sometime tonight or tomorrow, and you will see this on tomorrow's program. I will be talking about the AFC South, and I'll have the AFC wrapped up. And then, of course, later on this week, I'll get into the NFC. And I'll go off on playoffs on Wednesday's live show, have the playoffs, and then of course Thursday I'll compare mine to Carlos's. We'll do an NFL preview show, which is really fun after we do this recap show. Okay, all right, now a recap of the college stuff. All right, Baltimore. They really didn't add a lot of players this year. I thought they added more than they did. They've added a couple of cornerbacks. They're always adding to their defense. They're just a deep team. They don't have a lot of needs, and they always have they're always one of those teams where there's no real glaring weakness. People want to say, well, it was receiver, but they're just not overly weak anywhere because they draft so well. They're such a good organization from the top down. You just never can count them out. They're in the same boat really as Buffalo, Get a sip of this water. Lamar Jackson's just got to do it more in the postseason at this point. I mean, the guy's got 2 MVPs. He wins 75-80% of his games. He gets better every year. It's just the throws across the middle, the difficult throws. I see a lot of that improvement. Really proud of that guy. I was wrong on him. One of his biggest, you guys know, one of his biggest critics early on. But anyways, they added former Titan Chidoble Awazawu, cornerback, used to play with the Titans. I want to say he also played with Cincinnati. Added him in free agency over the all season. And they added Jar Alexander. Now, that's former Pro Bowl level, big second contract, cornerback with Green Bay. He used to play with Lamar Jackson at Louisville. So they're going to have a good secondary. They've always got a good secondary, right? And I want to say they extended Cal Hamilton, their safety, the other day, got a big chunk of money. Good player, though. Good player. That's their philosophy. They want to lean into that defense. That's their philosophy. And, hey, how can you go against it? They're in it every single year, per se. All right? And, of course, they still got, your Derrick Henrys of the world, Mark Andrews there. Who was that receiver? I can't. Is it Zay Flowers? Yeah, Zay Flowers, the lead receiver. Isaiah Likely. This got depth all over the place, And of course, Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP there. Not a big fall off by no means there from this team. They're obviously a Super Bowl contender. I have them going. Now, they've got a rough schedule early. They've got to play at Buffalo. And I said, I told you about Lamar got a little banged up, though it had a foot injury in camp. I think that's going to affect him in this game. I know he's healthy, in air quotes. That's a tough guy. He's just not going to let stuff bother him. But I think he's going to be just a tick off, and he's playing at Buffalo. Buffalo's loaded and healthy, and it's in Buffalo. I do think they lose this weekend at Buffalo, and of course, a few weeks later, on September 20th, 8th, got to play at this Kansas City team. So that's 2 losses early that normally Baltimore just don't have. They're just a tough team. It's tough for them to lose more than 2 games. But I think that that's just the way it is. But they still finish up at 13-4. They finished this at 13-4. So, they're a good team. All right. Potentially Super Bowl team. All right. Now, moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, who had, as usual, a lot of off-season drama. I do like the fact that Zach Taylor did play Joe Burrow more in the preseason. They got off to bad first start. Remember, they lost to New England early. If they wouldn't have lost that opening game to New England, they would have been in the playoffs last year, and they were playing some really good football, except the defense was terrible. But he was on point with that receiving core and whatnot. The blocking up front was good. Burrow was playing at MVP level. Very good shot for Joe Burrow to win the MVP this year. I don't agree with them signing back Higgins, but they did. We've talked about that in previous shows where the owner wants to sell jerseys and whatnot. So they bring in Higgins. They also extend Jamar Chase. Got 2 high-dollar receivers there. They're wanting a lot to prove this year. I think it's going to be they're going to look really good offensively. Like Carlos says, they're going to score really quick and often, especially if Burrow can stay healthy. I think they'll get off to a pretty fast start this year. They got to play Cleveland. They should pounce on Cleveland early in that game coming up this Sunday. Now, Trey Henderson gets a raise, $16 million raise and whatnot. That was a long, drawn-out dispute, wanted to be traded. The edge rusher led the team in sacks. I said one of the league leaders in sacks, like 17 sacks. He was the only bright spot for that defense last year. They fired Lou Amorano. They brought in Al Golden from Notre Dame to lead the defense, be a defensive coordinator. They worked it out late, and he's just now getting back in football shape in Trey Henderson. I think he'll probably be about 2 or 3 weeks in before he starts to look like Trey Henderson again. But they got that squared away. That is huge. Same thing with their first-round pick, Shamir Stewart, another edge rusher that they brought, first-round pick, who was not signed until about 3 weeks into camp himself. He's only about a week or so behind Trey Henderson. So I don't know how good they're going to look early. You just hope if you're a Bengals fan that these 2 guys get it worked out. But the fact is, they did get it worked out, and this is going to be one of the best offenses in the league. And Burrow could put up, cartoon-like numbers with this receiving core. And I want to say they picked up a tight end here, Noah Fant here. I want to say that they picked him up with their other tight end, Drew Sample, of course, Mike Gesicki, guy from Penn State that's kind of bounced around the league. I call Beer Man. Very good hands. He looked great at Miami. He just wouldn't utilize enough. And then, of course, you've got that running back core there, which I do like. Chase Brown and Zach Moss got a lot of speed there. They may have moved off Moss. I know they got Chase Brown there. And good move moving off Joe Mixon last year. So this team going to win a lot of games. Their schedule is not quite as difficult as the Ravens. I got them at 14-3. I'll probably get burned on that because of Burrow's injury history and whatnot, and their lack of depth compared to a Baltimore Ravens. I'll probably get burned on that at some point. But I'm saying I'm looking them to be a playoff contender. Okay, just throw that 14-3 number out the window and say Robert's picking this team to go to the playoffs. They know what they can do. A few years ago, they were in the Super Bowl, 21-22. They got the same group of guys. I don't know how they did it, but they figured it out. And quite frankly, if they're mediocre on defense, come trade deadline time, hopefully Mike Brown will say, look how close we are. I'm 80-plus years old. Do I want to be like as stubborn as a Jerry Jones? Go out and get player X, Y, or Z and make it happen, okay? So I got them finishing really well this season. That's probably a little overly optimistic because of their lack of depth. But that, for as of right now, I got them 14-3. They're going to be better, slightly better than the Ravens, but we'll see how that plays out. You know, I say that reluctantly, right? Again, no particular order, but just to happen the page where I've got this book here, the Cleveland Browns, folks. Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback, his name. And, of course, the backup is Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders is number 3. They moved off Kenny Pickett, traded him last week to the Raiders or somebody I want to say. And, of course, Deshaun Watson is on injured reserve. We don't know when he's going to be back, coming back from Achilles. If he comes back, maybe he comes back late October. We're not sure, and I'm sure the Browns really don't care at this point. Remember, they got the number 2 pick last year, traded it down with Jacksonville. They got another extra first-round pick coming in to next year. For a year and a half, an LSU quarterback possibly come out. I'm sure he's going to be out. And, of course, Cade Kublik there. Those 2 quarterbacks that played Clemson LSU. Maybe Carson Beck has that big year. Carson Beck's got some starts under his belt. He looked good. So that's 3 potential quarterbacks right there that they could be looking at if Dillon Gabriel don't take off, or Shedeur Sanders. I have not given up on Shedeur, okay? I think he needs to grow up a little bit with the nonsense, and I think he's got to clean up. Talk about this running backwards and all that stuff. I do think he'll get a shot to play this year because this team does have some holes in it, you know? But I do think that those holes are somewhat exaggerated considering the fact that they were in the playoffs just 2 years ago, okay? So anyways, I said they'll probably go anywhere from the same record, 3-14, to 5-12. As far as Stefanski is concerned, it's 50-50. It depends on how well the team plays down the stretch, the quarterback play. I know this owner is getting a lot of criticism for moving off coaches too fast. Now, he's had this group together for about 5 years now, if I'm not mistaken. And Barry and Stefanski, maybe he gives them one more year to get this thing together. Maybe Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders takes off, and they don't need to get a quarterback. So we'll see. A lot of this is how these games play out. I wouldn't get so much caught up in the record. Remember, they re-extended. They extended Myles Garrett. He wanted out at one point, and then they brought in Mason Graham, which is a very good defensive tackle. So you got him and Garrett on there together. They've got a fair secondary there, led by Denzel Ward at cornerback. So they've got some players, man. They're just not that bad a team. They lost a lot of tight games last year. So they're going to be a fun team to watch. They're definitely interested. And again, 3-14, 5-12 range. I got them finishing last. I don't know. Is that really a hot take? I don't like to just say stuff just to say it, you know? I'm just not that type of person. I don't like to just say stuff just to be hot takeish. I like to tell you what I really believe. Sometimes what I really believe is a hot take. Okay? And listen, this Pittsburgh team, I'm telling you, they are going to come out. Not unless Rodgers gets hurt. Now he got hurt a few years ago. We saw what happened with the Jets. Another reminder of Aaron Rodgers that somebody brought up the other day that I was listening to is Aaron Rodgers is 2 years off that Achilles. Players usually have that big jump that second year off their Achilles. Okay, they let their left tackle go, Dan Moore, in free agency. I talked to Ralph Williams. There's some critics up there calling the guy backdoor Moore, which means the edge rusher got around him, got around his edge. So maybe Tennessee got a dud there and paid him a lot of money for no reason. But either way, they're rolling the dice with second year, maybe third year pro, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a third year pro. Broderick Jones, who is at right tackle, if I'm not mistaken. I think he is third year, coming in year 3. Former New York or Georgia Bulldog, played right tackle for a few years. And they're going to move Troy Fontenot, which is their first round pick last year. He's coming in year 2. So they're going to move him to right. He got hurt, but this guy looks good. Fontenot looks good. So they're going to move him to right, Broderick Jones to left. So it looks like they got that squared away. Meaning the Steelers feel like they've got that squared away. They traded George Pickens to Dallas. The guy was immature. Go figure. The Pittsburgh Steelers draft another immature receiver. We can go on for days talking about, your Chase Claypools, Antonio Browns, and whatnot, former Steelers of the world. But anyways, they traded him, and they went out and got DK Metcalf. And people would say what they want to. Metcalf's still a very good player, 27 years old. Thought that was a good pickup. Let's see how it plays out. You put him out there with Freiermuth. Now, Austin, the rest of that receiving core, I'm just not sure about. Robert Woods, it's got some miles on there. I don't know about Robert Woods and whatnot. Calvin Austin and, Scotty Miller, a former speedster from and Jaylen Warren at running back. And then you got Caleb Johnson. I mean, it's just – then they brought in Mason Rudolph, which wasn't bad. Brought him back at quarterback there to back up Jones, now a Rodgers. So, it's going to be some short passes. But that defense is going to look good early. I'm telling you, I'm not some sugarcoating homer. I'd bash the Steelers all the time. People know that. I've always said Mike Tomlin, coach, is just good enough not to get fired. And I said that, and I still stand by. That being said, they traded Micah Fitzpatrick at safety to Miami, brought in Jalen Ramsey. That's a pretty good corner. He's still a good corner. He used to be a great elite corner. Now he's considered to be a good corner, and they didn't have a good corner. You put him out there with Joy Porter Jr., who is very physical, can cover, and that dude can tackle on the open field just like his dad could. And then you got Darius Slay. So that's 3 cornerbacks. Now, Slay's 34, 35 years old. He's still considered to be a good corner, not a great corner. He's a little long in the tooth. But that's a good secondary right there. Maybe you move some guys in around nickel and whatnot and alternate them to safety. That being said, that's a pretty good you got T.J. Watt re-signed up there. You got our guy there, defensive tackle, who is, I should know his name off the top of my head because he was Cam Hayward was a big watcher of Sports Scope back when it was on the Periscope app. But yeah, he's squared away money wise. So you start to look at that secondary and like, hey, this is going to be a pretty good team here, okay? And I'm telling you right now, they're going to get off to a fiery start. They're going to beat the Jets come week 1. Now, if they lose that Jet game, that's all on Tomlin. I mean, they cannot look. They got to go up there and just maul the Jets. Okay. Doing that by 2024. I think they're going to play well, though. You know, early, they're going to play well. They play at the Jets. They got Seattle at home. They play at New England week 3. They got Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback week 4. So they got that early bye. So they played this game in Dublin on September 28th, Minnesota. All right. Then before that they played New England September 21st, September 14th, Seattle, September 7th, which was Sunday. Maybe Monday. I don't know. Let's see what. Today's the 1st. It'd be Sunday. Yeah, Sunday at 1 o'clock. It'd be perfect. That'd be perfect there. So Jets win, Seattle win, New England win, Minnesota win. That's 4-0. And they got that week 5 bye. That's not good for this old team. And then they play Cleveland home. So they're going to start off 5-0 and be leading the North. And they're like, okay, well, if we could just coast these next 12 games, we still got Baltimore twice. We still got Cincinnati twice. But it's not going to work out that way. I mean, they're going to get older. They're going to get banged up. They've got a pretty good backup quarterback there and Mason Rudolph, but he ain't that good. And you're going against Lamar Jackson twice and that defense. And you're going against Cincinnati twice. And you've also got to play Buffalo. You got to play at the Chargers. You got Green Bay in there. You got Detroit in there. That's not good. That's not good. So I got them finishing, though. That being said, minus Rodgers don't get a horrific injury, 11-6. They're a little bit better than I thought they'd be. About 9-8, 10-7. I got them finishing 11-6. So you go back and think about this for a second. All right. This is probably generous for the AFC North. Again, it's hard to predict injuries, folks. I cannot predict. If I was Nostradamus, I would be on bigger platform. I wouldn't be doing carry work, okay? I'd be going to more games. I wouldn't be doing Uber and stuff. So these are just educated guesses. But I usually get it right. I just don't get the numbers right. I've got Cincinnati winning the North, which is it is kind of a hot take because everybody's going to pick Baltimore. I've got Baltimore second at 13-4. That could flip and go Baltimore 1, Cincinnati 2. Either way, I'm pretty confident those two teams are going to make the playoffs, Baltimore, Cincinnati. All right. 14-3 Cincinnati, probably not going to happen, but I got them winning. All right. Baltimore 13-4, 11-6. So Pittsburgh's right there to get that last wild card. I'm going to have to study them and Denver and see which one. Do a tiebreaker there and see what happens for that third wild card. And, of course, Cleveland, lowly Cleveland, 3-14 again. Give or take a few games there. So, either way, now by Wednesday, I'll have I'll have all my predictions in. I'll hopefully record another show today and give you and we'll plan for Tuesday, but this will be on tonight. So you got my AFC North. You got my AFC East. A little bit of a hot take there with Cincinnati. Of course, Buffalo. Everybody's going to pick Buffalo to win the East. So either way, if you like the show, please share the show. Have a good night, everybody. Hopefully, I'll see you live on Wednesday. But Tuesday, hopefully, I can get this other show recorded, and we'll have some more divisional play starting with the AFC South, and then I'll get into the NFC. So have a good rest of your Labor Day, folks. I'll see you otherwise here on the Real Sports Scope. Thank you, everybody.